All right, welcome back everyone. I hope you're doing well and thank you guys for filling in the feedback form. For those that missed out the previous day feedback form, we will post it in the chat box later and the email communications. Do remind your friends that who have attended this event to also fill it up as well so that you're able to get your e-certs and then for us also to learn how to improve better in our future sessions. So today we have very lovely guests with us today for our social well-being forum. So we have three lovely ladies. So I hope everyone can give them a little bit of like love and energy, show some reactions, like some heart shapes, thumbs up, clapping. Yeah, we see some clapping. You can also leave some heart shapes in the chat box and type if you need anything like good evening and everything. So these are very, very lovely guests with us. We have with us as moderator Mallory from Works Inspires, a people development and engagement company. She's also Malaysia's Most Talented Coach 2019, and she was a 4 times TEDx speaker. So she'll be helping to facilitate and moderate the whole entire forum. Everyone, please give her a warm welcome and round of applause. We also have with us Ms. Masami Sato. So she's a founder and CEO of Singapore company Buy One Give One, a company that helps initiate like whatever work that you do will become points for social well-being. So we also have she's also a 2 time TEDx speaker and Amazon best-selling author as well. You can check out her website masamisato.com. She's also the winner of the Sustainable Business Award for SMEs. So you guys can also give her a warm welcome and round of applause as well. Next on our lovely guest is Kim Lim from Picha Eats. She's a co-founder and it's a food business that focuses on rebuilding lives of refugees in Malaysia. I'm not so sure if you guys have heard of Picha Eats, but I definitely do because they have been delivering food based from refugees as well, and I can attest that their food is delicious. And Picha Eats has won winner of the Chivas Venture in 2017 and 2018 in Malaysia. They also got top 5 in international for the winner for Alliance Empowering Future Generation in Munich, Germany. So yes, I hope you guys can get some inspiring stories and lessons to be learned in our social well-being forum. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Mallory.
Hi everyone, very good evening. Thank you so much to the moderator and thank you so much to everyone for being so participative. I've never seen such a huge crowd that's still so engaging even though you've been here the entire day. So can y'all give yourself a round of applause or say hello or whatever not, because congratulations, you have done amazingly. So without that, before I start the session, I'd just like to share a little bit about what to expect from this, okay? Number one, I don't want this to be a boring session because it is the last session of the day of PMCare and I want all of you to have a fantastic time. So like I said, with three lovely ladies, the three lovely ladies like to have a lot of fun as well. So can we all keep the energy up? And also, you know, if you have any questions in between, feel free to type it in the chat as well. Or if any comments whatsoever, just type it in the chat. We'll be happy to address it along the way or give it to the Q&A at the end of the session. All right. Now, secondly, along the way, I will probably ask you to do some finger exercises, okay? Finger exercises. So finger exercises means what? I would like all of you to now type in the chat, all right? One thing, just one thing you have learned out of the 3 days. Okay, one thing you have learned out of the 3 days in PMCare. So type down in the chat right now, one thing that you have learned. One thing, type it down right now. Keto diet. Oh, after Chinese New Year, I definitely need it. What else? Come on, type down one thing. Just one thing of everything. Healthy lifestyle. Need a lot of help in health. Wow, okay. What else? Eat and live healthy. Eating right. Saving money. How to handle stress. How to handle stress. Okay, so we got a lot of this healthy lifestyle thing going on, right? So we have a lot of healthy stress. We have a lot about saving. We also have a lot about how can we eat well and be healthy again, especially with all the Chinese New Year food and whatnot. What else? What else have you learned so far? And so investment choices, how to be happy, fantastic. Nohalina is like the top student, you know, she got asked for one thing, she gave me 3 things, okay? Very good. What else? Maximum heartbeat. Very interesting. Okay, what else? Come on, you have about 200 plus of you, 250 of you. So I want to see more. Management, mental wellness, great. So did the rest of you like MIA or something and didn't? Okay, so what else? Come on, type it out. While we have that, I will invite Kim and Masami to also on their cameras as well so we can get the session started. All right, hi Masami, thank you for joining
Hello.
us.
Hi, Mallory. Great to
Hi, are
see
you
you.
based? You joining us all the way from Japan?
No. I'm based in Singapore. I'm
Okay,
from Japan, but
okay.
yeah, I
Based in
live in
Singapore.
Singapore.
Okay, how are things in Singapore?
Yeah, things are still interesting, like just like the last 2 years has been, and yeah, but and this was, really the first time that I haven't traveled for the entire 2 year period. Being in Singapore, then you would probably imagine that the people here would travel out very often, right? But that this has been a very, very unique and interesting time. But at the same time, we are very lucky to be in this part of the world as well. So yeah.
Yes. I miss traveling. I really do miss traveling and looking at how things are. I'm not sure when, but hope soon. Okay. Kim, are you there, Kim? I'm not sure.
Hey
Kim.
Mallory, yes, I'm here. I just can't on my camera for a while, but in 10 minutes I should be able to.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Okay.
So meanwhile, we're going to start with a little bit of sharing. Okay. So I'd like to start by asking the panel, like for me, as I just for fun fact for everybody. Okay. I studied ACCA in accounting and I didn't plan to become an entrepreneur or start my business, but it just happened along the way. I didn't plan it, but I'm very grateful for mentors and friends along the way that have given me a lot of great advice and encouragement for me to start the way I am today. So when Karina asked me to do this moderating, they asked me like, okay, what does giving back and social impact or social well-being actually comes to me? It reminded me a lot about the opportunities that people have given me, and also I owe it a lot to our clients and friends that have given me a lot of support. So I'll like just to bring a bit of context of what to expect out of this. Okay, I'm all about results. So I'm all about at the end of the day, the impact that we can give, and not just big impact like, to the society and also to the world, but impact to our friends, our colleagues, our bosses, our clients, our customers. So whatever it is that we are sharing today, both from myself, Masami and Kim's side, I want you all to take note and I want you all to ask yourself, how can we apply this into our daily workplace? How can we apply this into our clients, our customers, our friends, our family members? Before we change the world, we're first going to help ourselves, right? That's why they say in the plane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before the kids and everybody else. Same thing applies here. So I'm going to ask Masami the first question, okay? What inspired you to do what you do? Like, what was that moment you go, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, that's actually quite a big question, right? Because just like you said, I didn't start out with this like big idea to go, this is exactly what I would do in my life. And so when I was young, I was exploring and, we go through the time of self-discovery and exploration too. So I had that time too. So what happened was I had this time when I was like around 20, early 20s, I had the opportunity to travel around the world backpacking with very low budget. Limited budget. So that was the time I started to really connect with the world, because coming from Japan and not even being able to speak English, I didn't know what was out there. So I just wanted to see. So I had that just the curiosity and then maybe a sense of trust somewhere, even though I was kind of scared as well at some level. I thought I just wanted to go out there and then see what's there. And then so that 3 years or so when I went around backpacking was very impactful, because I was very introverted as a young person. And I didn't know how to even communicate properly with people in my own community or at school, or, I was afraid of expressing myself. But when I surrendered and started to be very open in the totally vulnerable situation backpacking and not having much, then I discovered this joy of connecting for the very first time, without being able to say a lot, because I couldn't speak English much. So when I couldn't say the things in a proper way, then I realized that we could still connect like openly without trying to say the right things. So that was like a really game changing for me. And then during that time when I was really vulnerable, there were always people everywhere I went who were happy to help me. And also at the same time, I also saw some different realities of people around the world that I didn't know when I was in Japan. Like kids not, being able to even go to primary school and working in a field or begging on the street, or people with physical disabilities, like not having any help and they're just like fending for themselves. So that was the start of the time I started to question, like, it seems like everybody had this desire to live good life, be happy, care for each other, but somehow things are not connected together in the best possible way to create this like a real sense of fulfillment, whether people who had a lot or people who had very little. So that was the opening of the question. And then eventually that kind of led to what I do today. But yeah.
Well, you know what I really like from what Masami shared is that she shared the keyword here called vulnerability. A lot of times we say we need help, but we don't dare to be vulnerable. So if you put up this very strong front that, I have it covered. When people ask you, how are you doing? What's the common answer? Fine, I'm good. Or in corporate world, we hear commonly is surviving. What is fine? What's good? What's surviving? And especially in relationships, people also say, how are you doing? I'm fine. What's fine? Is it a good fine or a bad fine, or what's fine? So if we don't open up to people, let people know that, hey, we need help or we are vulnerable, then for a lot of people perceive as weakness. But I think what Masami shared is that when you show vulnerability, it's actually bravery. And with bravery, you actually get help. Yes, and what Amy said, struggling. Yeah, these are and a lot, and later I'll touch a bit. I'll ask both Kim and Masami about how do we handle when somebody actually says this word to you, right? If let's say Amy actually said struggling, if somebody actually says, how are you doing today? I'm struggling, I'm tired. And then sometimes we don't want to hear those words because we don't know how to react. We don't know how to care. What if you have a colleague that actually says that to you? How do you react to such things? Okay, later we come back about that, but that's a very good answer, Amy. All right, Kim, what about you? I know you and your co-founders for a fair bit now, but I want you to share a bit, like, what inspired you to start this? Those days it was called Picha Projects and now it's Picha Eats. Like, what did a group of uni students wake up and say, you know what, we're going to feed refugees? How did that come about, Kim?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Hi, Masami. I need to say hi. But for what you're saying about inspiration, I think it's to me, it's all about consistency to begin with. And in terms of like when we talk about uh, people always ask me like, oh, you can do so many things, and why do you choose this? Besides the story that you always share about having the co-founders together during the university days, and then helping refugees and all these stories. I mean, that's what we put out as a story, and then people will ask, actually, why do you do what you do every single day? And I always like to say that when I'm young, I always wanted to help people. When there's like the ambition box, and then you will usually put like teacher lah, singer
Doctor.
lah, dancer lah, whatever lah. And I always put occupations that could give back to the society, as like a doctor or like a teacher or like firefighter and things like this. But obviously, I don't have the physical attributes to be a firefighter, and I don't have the brains to be the scientific brains to be a doctor. And eventually, I chose music, and because I thought that music could help someone uplift their lives, and when they hear a tune that I compose or something that will move them, emotions, it may remind them of things or memories in their life, and it could help them in their daily lives. Basically making people happy. And I went to study music for 5 years, and then I graduated. But along the way, I found out that, oh, there's a bunch of people that really need help. And I also grew up in a business family. So they run a business for many, many years. And that's where I got my business acumen. And From there, I saw, oh, this bunch of people really need help. We need to find a sustainable way, and I just went into it without uh without without my music knowledge. So things just I think it's a lot about embracing yourself along this journey. So I also came from a bit of history. Also, I also came from a very broken family, and the broken family also is when I thought that when I was young, I thought that because people were running business, my parents were running a business, that's why it became broken. So I didn't want to be part of a business. I swore to myself I will never be involved in a business. I vowed to myself I will never be in a food business.
Oh,
And
wow.
eventually I got into a food business. So the more you don't want, the more it comes. And but I told myself if the business does help people, okay, I'll do it. So we've run PCHA for 6 years with the sole mission of rebuilding lives, and I think that's the whole inspiration. My inspiration don't just come from who I want to be; it also comes from environment, and people that are involved along the journey. So that's how I got inspired to do what I do today.
Thanks, Kim. I think before we move to the next question, I think I want to touch base a little bit. I think what Kim shared, another key words for everybody. Just now from Masami, we shared about vulnerability. Now from Kim, right? She shared something very important called like she don't want. So like the law of attraction, right? You don't want something, and then the more you don't want it, it happens to you. Like there's a lot of people who says that, okay? No, if you say I don't want to be rich, doesn't mean you're going to be rich. All right, it doesn't work that way too, okay? But in one sense, I want to talk about is the mindset. Like, she changed the mindset that she says, I don't want to be in this. And from I don't want to be in this, it became, okay, if the business allows me to rebuild lives and help lives, I'm okay to be part of it. I want to be part of it. So I think one thing to ask Masami and Kim is that what is that mindset that you carry as you are running this? Because I think a lot of us here are running businesses or in corporates. So what is the mindset that you carry? In one hand, you have this inclination that I want to give back. I want to impact society. On the other hand, you also got to make sure you got to pay yourself. You got to make sure that your team gets a meal. You got to make sure that everybody's welfare is taken care of. Your family responsibilities are taken care of. So what is the mindset you carry to juggle between giving back as well as helping someone? Maybe Masami, we start with you.
Okay, so yeah, great question. Because when we are running a giving initiative, then it's very easy to say giving mindset, right? It's a good thing to have. And then, but I also acknowledge what you are saying about, can we still give when we don't have a lot ourselves? So when we are in under stress and pressure ourselves or scarcity, having own problems. So I actually learned this when I was, younger and exploring. At one point of time, I spent 2 years living in the countryside of Japan, and then lived among the farmers and trying to learn to create a self-sufficiency and a sustainable living. So, because at that point of time, in my perception, I felt that businesses were causing a lot of issues, and the consumerism was source of issues. So I thought, like, if I stopped buying anything and then can create everything by myself, I will still at least not create problems in the world. So I tried to do that, and I spent 2 years working with the farmers, trying to make everything, grow food, build a house or whatever. So during that time, I learned this interesting idea of creating the giving cycle around us. And so what happened is, in the traditional mindset, farmers, for example, already understand this inherent need and gift of giving, which is that if you want to have abundance in your life, you have to, and great crops and cultivation, then you have to give to the soil first. You have to learn about the nature and live with the nature first. And then when you are actually having this like give to the soil first, then you have a more certainty around having a great outcome and gift later on, even though we could get still affected by natural disaster, typhoon and earthquake in Japan. So that happens. But when we have this like, starting with giving is easy because if it is about us starting to give whatever we have. It doesn't have to be big, but small things that we already treasure and have and share that with others, then first of all, this giving doesn't depend on anybody else. But if we start from, I want to be recognized by people, or I want to be loved, I want to, be thanked or appreciated. So if we start from this, because this outcome is dependent on others, it's difficult to get it. But if we start from, well, I want to acknowledge somebody, right? Like to share the kind words, or I don't have a lot, but I'm going to give my time and help my friend. Or so when we start doing the little things that we already can do because we recognize some of the ability of giving in ourselves at this point of time, then we naturally create a cycle of giving around us. And we attract people who are more attracted to that cycle. And then as a result, things get easier because giving is not dependent on what you can get, but it's dependent on you to choose to do something at any one point of time. So that's why it's easier to say giving mentality is really important, but I think giving mentality is actually the easier way because it's not stressful. When
part.
yeah, even when disaster happen, what happen in the magic is sometimes when these difficulty happens, people come together and people go beyond their usual thinking to try to help each other. And
Yes.
this is the magic of recognizing what we can do at any one point of time, no matter how much or how little we have. So
I really like that. I think that's generally the definition of mindset of giving, and I really like that Japanese teaching about you give the soil first because it's easier to give and it's less stressful. I always choose the less stressful option. I don't know about you all, but I don't like stress, so I pick non-stress work, over stress work any day. All right, Kim, what about you? How do you juggle between, one hand taking care of the refugees and the lifestyle others, on the other hand, also, your team and growing the business? Now that you've come to terms that I'm running a business in the food industry.
It depends. Okay, it depends who am I talking to at times. If you're talking about balancing between business and social, if I'm talking to a bunch of people who is very socially inclined, I will tell them business first. If I'm talking to a bunch of people who are business inclined, I will tell them social matters. I think there needs to be a balance between both. And as people, especially at our generation right now, when we can be more innovative, we can think of ways to find a balance between creating impact and running the business. I do think it's this generation lah. If the potential, where the potential lies is in this generation. Just because we've seen a lot of we've seen a lot of what has made this world bad. and what can we do on the other hand to curb those things. And I also believe that businesses should have started from being from being sustainable and being socially inclined to begin with. If every business started it that way, I don't even think the word social enterprise needs to exist. So to me, if we start off a business with having those things in mind, I think we're on the right track. But it's tough. It's not what Mallory would mention, less stress. It's 10 times stressful. because because you're fighting a lot with people, you're fighting a lot of evil as well, example, if you we're running a food business, we want to work out our packaging, we want it to be sustainable, but sustainable packaging is 2 times expensive, and in a business costing sense, you can't go for that because you either go for that, absorb it yourself, make a loss, or you add it on to customer the customer's burden. They pay for it, but it's expensive and it's not sustainable. So you're fighting with this kind of things every single day. This is just one example, right? And so um, you have to pick your fights sometimes in this area. So let's say like you pick we're picking refugees, and then we want to talk about environmental. We can't do that yet. Do that yet. So you have to pick your fight. And but you also picking your fight. You also have like a timeline and a plan as to when you want to see the larger good of things in your business. So if every business could work towards that at this current age, I think we're pretty much at a better place than where we were before. And I really believe it's this generation that will make it happen. This generation that has more information, that has more reach with internet, that has more abundance of resources, that can and has more ideas that will make this happen. So I don't have exactly an answer straight to what Mallory asked, but this is what I think about balancing social good and business if everything could start with the right mindset.
Yeah.
I think both Masami and Kim talk about the right thing, which is the mindset part. I think a lot of us have this, we are a profit-making company. So profit-making means I gotta make money, I gotta please stakeholders. On the other hand, it's also hard. Sometimes we have to deal with the exco and the bots and everything else in between. You try to convince them, okay, this is the better option because it's sustainable and social good. But I think with mindset comes the word awareness, right? Like the benefit is that all of you here, 250 of you here, are actually here listening to this. So what you can do to start is that you can share whatever you've learned to someone new, your colleague that's not here, your boss, your staff that's not here. And whatever you've learned, to be able to teach someone else is already beneficial to them. So if every single one of us can share one thing, that's why I asked all of you, what's the one thing that you have learned from today, right? So if every single one of us can pick one thing and just share it with somebody else, that is an act of giving itself. And that act of giving gives awareness. And when you give awareness, more people are aware, more people can create better impact. Okay, so let's talk about something that Masami, in the meantime, yes, to just let everybody know, you can start asking your questions because we do have to wrap up at 5. So please start asking your questions and we'll prioritize your questions first as the session goes along. So now we're going to talk a little bit about making an impact. And I like what Masami talked about. It doesn't have to be a lot, but most importantly is to start giving, right? So do you have, each of you, do you have an example before you are what you are, before you start running a business, before your business grows to the size that it is, it was just, Kim and Masami starting out, figuring out life. Do you have an experience where you realize that you can create impact just by starting something small, low cost, within your means, don't need to involve everybody in the world, and just do it? Okay, and I think that's something that everyone can relate to. So maybe besides Masami, if you have any idea about that.
I think it's very interesting that you asked that question because that's precisely what happened to me in a kind of pivotal moment of my life. So going back to the time, like when I was traveling, and after that, realizing that there is something that can be done in the world, but I didn't know what I could do because I was this just little person without having the power to change the world. So I left that up in the air. But what happened was when I became a mom for the first time, and I gave birth to my daughter, and that was 21 years ago. And so when that happened to me, suddenly like everything came to me because I experienced this extreme sense of like overwhelming sense of love for this little thing. And then because I grew up as a child who felt quite vulnerable and not sure I was loved by others, or so from the insecurity, I didn't know whether I could ever become a parent, to have my own child, but it just happened to me. And then I was holding this baby who have nobody else but me to protect her. And I realized at that time that I would do anything, in the world to make sure she's safe, she's happy, she's cared for. But then that was then, like I started to see this faces of children I saw when I was traveling, backpacking, because I saw kids, begging on the street or not going to school or not having the meals. And I realized that even though I didn't have the power to change the world, but I felt very strongly about doing something at that time. Because if my daughter happened to be born in different circumstance, then and if everybody said, sorry, we can't change the world, so I'm not going to do anything, then it could be my daughter who would be fending for herself in her life. So that was the first time I thought I would do something. And then what happened was, at that time, I started, actually, interestingly, Kim, I went into a food business because I was a chef up to then. I loved food and what food could do to people, to bring people together, to unite people beyond the cultural differences, languages, religion, anything. Like, food was something that we could enjoy together. So I started my food business, promising to myself that I'm going to give 100% of all of the profit and make lots of money, but all of the profits away to do something to help children who didn't have access to all these things. So that was my motivation in getting into business. But what happened was, I was first in New Zealand, and then my one little business became two businesses. I sold those businesses, moved to Australia, and then I started this frozen meal production company that eventually had like 150 retail stores buying our packaged frozen meals. So 5 years later into that journey, there was this pivotal moment where I paused and I realized that, okay, I worked so hard for 5 years, sacrificing my time with family or anything to just keep going. But I wasn't doing anything yet, because I always thought it was about having enough time, enough money, enough profit to one day do something big, such as to build a soup kitchen and help feed and educate lots of children. And I wasn't doing it. And then at that time, I realized that if I kept going with that way, I would still be doing the same thing in maybe like 5 years' time, even 10 years' time. So it's just, this idea came to me at that time. And then I thought, what if instead of trying to do something big in the future, what if we decided to do something small but do it every day from now? And that was the idea of Buy One, Give One. That was when the idea was born in 2006. And so we decided that for every meal we sell, we will allocate a small portion of the income to help provide a meal to children, so that the children who come to the school get to have a free meal. That kind of like changed everything. And then eventually we sold the food company and moved to Singapore from Australia to start B1G1 as the global giving initiative to help businesses around the world embed giving in these micro ways. But if I didn't ask the question in 2006 about what if we could do small things instead of doing big things, without that, we wouldn't have B1G1 today, and all the thousands of businesses who work with us today to actually make things happen together. So yeah, I think that question of small things and taking action regularly every day, how that powerful than doing big things, I totally recognize the power of that question.
Thank you so much, Samir. That's a very, very insightful. I got something to answer for Zarina's just do it needs courage. I think based on Masami's statement, just do it don't need courage. Just do it needs discipline. It's the ability to do one thing at a time, and every day do that same small thing, or until you're ready to do a bit more, you're ready to do a bit more. But it's not so much on the courage to do it, but it's a lot more on the discipline to say that, okay, calm down. Let's not wait 10 years to do a big thing. Let's focus on doing one small thing every single day and get there eventually. All right, Kim, what about your story? What was that moment?
I I think what Masami is going through is probably what I'm going through, but 20% of what Masami is going through. Going into what the whole food journey is actually what we're going through right now. Going to coachings and stuff like this. We're also testing our buy one for one idea as well. So definitely a lot of things to learn from Masami too. But if you're talking about giving back and things, what Mallory mentioned about, just do it needing discipline is true. But just do it needing courage is actually also very true. Why? Because I was just approached by someone just now, and he just came to me. I have 6,000 meals that we need to do every single day. Can you do it? And I'm like, I was just laughing, and and I realized that I always talk about just doing it. Yes, it needs courage, right? But then at that point in time, I was thinking, am I living what I am saying? Am I doing what I'm saying all the time? And do I really have the courage to take on this order? And as Masami understand, if I take on this order, it's no sleep for don't know how many months.
Correct.
And we don't have the capacity at this point of time to do that. It means that we have to expand very, very fast. But in terms of like that's the business part of things. But in terms of like giving back, this question, I think it's very true to start small. And do not diminish the power that you have on social media. I'm sure Mary saw my post sometimes. Whenever someone needs help, literally all I do is just post on social media, and money just comes in to help people that are in need. Especially during the flood situation in Malaysia. There was one time during MCO, the movement control order. A lot of people was in dire need, and just one post generates like 10 to 15,000 ringgit every time. So I think don't undermine your network. Very important. Start building your network right now. If you want to do good, yes, you do good yourself, but you want to expand, you need network. You cannot just do it alone. You can't do it alone. And with network, like Mallory mentioned, less stress. So you share the stress and burden with everyone instead of yourself. Yes, you take on 60% of the stress, but 40% you just spread it out to other people. So be very smart about how you want to do good. I think a lot of people always think doing good is, you have to do everything yourself. You need to plunge your energy into it and things like you don't have to. You have to be very, very smart in doing good. It can be shared resources, it can be shared network, it can be I borrow you for certain things and things like this. Even I'm actually building something called the Other School. Is actually to aid refugee kids education, and I form a community called the Other Builders, and every single thing 50% of the work they are doing for free. So it means that we are really relying on people's capabilities and abilities, and they're doing it for like 3 hours, 4 hours a week. So all you have to do is really plan things really, really, really well, manage expectations with the volunteers that you're working with, and build the community, build the network. So if I can do it, I think anyone here also can do it. So that's how I see about giving back lah.
Yeah, correct. I think I really like what Kim said lah. I think one thing that a lot of people ask is how can we help if we don't have much? Okay, and I think just in time for it is that before I'm going to be asking one more question before we move to all the Q&A that has been addressed. And the one question is a lot more relating to the corporate side. Right? I think one thing to address that we forget is that sometimes we think that we need to wait for a disaster to happen. We need to really tackle poverty. We need to really tackle a lot of things, that are, sustainable, environmental, so many things that you want to tackle about. Yes, the world is filled with problems, we know. But one thing we forget to ask ourselves is, are we practicing the culture of giving back within the organization? Because as simple as that, like I remember this lesson came to be very hard. One thing that I used to advocate a lot in my team is that happiness. Happiness is one of the core values. I care so much of my team's happiness that I kind of give them almost everything. I'm the one company that says there's no annual leave. Take leave whenever you feel you need it, kind of thing like that. But then as you grow, I realized that eventually you still need, some sort of discipline. You need some sort of SOPs in place, but people do take things for granted. But that's where one of my team members actually had a very heart-to-heart conversation with me and taught me a very important lesson. Mallory, sometimes before we say we want to help others, have we ever just asked our colleague, what help do we need? Instead of deciding that this is what they need, have you asked us what we need? And when the pandemic hit and this MCO happened, and a lot of us are moving into this hybrid mode now of working, because the cases are going up and things, we have not seen most of our colleagues. So back to the question I asked earlier, if someone asks you, how are you feeling? And your response is, I'm not okay. How do the person react, and how do you react to it? I think that's something that I want to touch base on, and I would like Kim and Masami to address this as well, just to share your experiences on how can someone on a corporate level, and even not just company-wide, but even me to my colleague next to me, you sense something's wrong, but I don't know how to do it because I'm not an expert. I might touch a sensitive point. On the other hand, I know that house got flooded or something. How do you show simple care in your normal work setting? So maybe Masami, we start with you.
So your question touched base on two things that I have in mind. One is like, how can companies create intentionally create a culture that actually serves everyone, right? Like not just the outcome and the cause or the business performance, but to serve all of the people inside the organization as well as outside of organization, clients, stakeholders. So that's one part. Another part is more simpler, like not simpler, but the fundamental thing about the spirit of business. Right, like, so what happened? So here's this interesting numbers or statistics. So if you look at the global businesses around the world, and then look at the number of companies that are more than 200 years old, right? And then if you get the statistics, what happened, and I discovered this a number of years ago, what happened is Japan has more than 50% of world's longest existing living businesses in the world. Right, like so, and then the second was Germany, but the Japan's population is only like 2%, less than 2% of the world, I think, or 5. I'm just mixed up with that number, but much smaller. So why is it? And then what we discover when we look at this number is that those long living businesses are primarily almost all family businesses. So it's family-owned businesses, and that's been going for hundreds of years. And then when we look at the secret of longevity of these family businesses, and Japanese businesses have some unique component, because all of the businesses in the world probably before were family businesses long time ago. And then we became like a new model. We started to have a new model of corporate structure, shareholders, directors, voting rights, all that. But long time ago, most businesses are family owned, but somehow Japanese family businesses lived longer and it's still there somehow. So if you look at the secret of what's going on, what happened in these Japanese family businesses is that sometimes, even family businesses have problems, like children no longer want to work in the business, they have other interests, or maybe they don't have the skills, or so things happen, and that will make family businesses at risk of extinction as well. But what Japanese businesses commonly practice is this approach to actually have a apprenticeship and invite young people to join in the family business. And then if the family business fall in love with this young new outside individuals, then they invite the person to be, even the adult, to be adopted in the family, even so that it will stay as a family business, but not limited to just the bloodline. And then, so what happened when we have family businesses or even family-like businesses is that when you think your company as family business, then you start to make different decisions. And you start to behave differently together, because if you really care about each other as a part of family, then when we have a challenging topics to discuss, we are honest, we are open, we could challenge each other, but we have a fundamental sense of trust and love for each other. And and sometimes even when part of the team members want to explore something outside the company and learn some things or express themselves, this fundamental sense of familyness will allow us to have those conversations, and so hiring, even firing or promotion or personal challenges all become part of important topics that we will deal with as connected individuals together. So even though today's business is not necessarily possible to run as family businesses anymore, but at the same time, just understanding this a little bit and then try to incorporate some of the lessons and insights from family business thinking will transform everything, because business social responsibility is no longer about making a company look good. This is about taking care of the entire family and entire community where the family is here to thrive on. So if the world doesn't have a good environment, then our descendants and children and grandchildren will not be here to enjoy this world together. So I think when we have this genuine sense of leadership in the company, whether it is structured as a family business or not, it doesn't matter too much, but it's the thinking that matters. And so I think kind of putting that culture thing aside, because there's a lot we can talk about the creating culture, but this a simple thing is probably kind of more game changing than methodologies around creating a good culture.
Yeah, I really like that. I think the key word that you're looking for here is the word values, because if you set the right values, you hire according to the right values, you grow your team according to the right values, take care of them according to values. So I'm talking about this on a higher level, then everything follows suit. And again, back to a lot of things like transparency and trust, right? So back to the word value. So for organizations, if you want to set how do we start this culture of give back things, start by giving one or two simple, and I say values, you don't need 16 competencies. Okay, I'm just talking about one or two or three things that everybody understands and apply and practice it to make it a habit. And I think that would be a good start. Okay, Kim, what about you? Maybe since Masami touched on a corporate level, maybe you can touch on an individual to my colleague level.
Do you mean like colleague to colleague or
Colleague to
employer? Okay. Colleague to colleague. I think very important is how usually I would have conversations. I always call my team members colleague anyway. I don't call them my staff member or my employee. And usually they will come to me and I will ask also, do you want me to hear you out as a friend or as an employer or as a colleague now? Like, which role do you want me to play now first? If they say, sometimes they say, oh, just want you to hear me out as a friend. Okay, I'll hear you out as a friend. I don't give you any inputs. I'm here to listen. And if I'm here as a colleague or as an employer, here's my inputs. Right. So I think that is more practical on a practical sense, because if you're saying you want to practice empathy, I think that is one way to practice, because not every time someone needs to hear your input. It's not every time you have to talk. Sometimes people just want someone to hear them out. So this is number one. Number two, I think as an employer, I don't believe that every employee can work knowing that they have a lot of issues going on in their lives, financial issues, relationship issues, family issues. I don't believe that they will be top performer if they have all these issues, because I myself will never be a top performer if I have those issues as well. So we cannot expect the other person to perform the same way as we do. If we can somehow segregate emotions and professional, we cannot expect the other person to do the same. So I think very important is to address the issue that is bogging them. I do have team members who have relationship issue, who will have a family issue, or that the family is going through some health issue, and I would just tell them, take a half day off, get it done, and then I want you back 100%. Like I don't want this person who I don't know. No, I go and handle your thing and then come back. I will give that leeway, but of course, like you mentioned, you have to be very smart whether what is true and not, because people will take advantage sometimes, right? But you need to be very smart on that to identify. I think that's number two practical one. Number three, my team members usually like to come to me a lot, because they know that I don't talk to them like a hierarchy. I don't talk down to them. If they talk, we do have generation gap. We do have, like, I'm actually 30 years old and most of them like early 20s.
Oh,
We do
yes.
have a generation, although I look very young, they're younger. So uh, I learned how to speak their language. When I say language, it doesn't mean different nationalities of language. I meant the different generation kind of language. Like, there's one time when they type SOZ, sauce, into the group chat. I was like, what is this? And they say, boss, you don't know. It's sorry. I'm like, what? What is sauce? So there's many other acronyms that I don't know, and sometimes we make it a competition to figure that out. So but it is important as an employer to try and figure out the next generation of narrow down the generation gap. And this is just the younger generation. The older generation is a challenge as well. So someone that is above my age has a different mindset. So whether you're an employer or not, if you somehow become a team leader, you do have to have all these skills to manage your team that comes in a diverse set of age group. Because the older generation will not understand even what you're trying to say, even as simple as giving a tech instruction. They may not understand, right? So you do need to figure out how to communicate and how to make them understand, how to make them up to speed. So if we always have that mindset to say that no lah, this generation is too old lah, that generation is just too young lah, then you'll never be able to hire anyone. You'll never be able to work with anyone. Never. So you just need to accept the fact that this generation is like this, that generation is like that, and find ways to mold yourself into working with this different generation. And eventually, you will actually develop different skill sets. You develop a lot of skill sets, communication skills, negotiation skills, so many soft skills, leadership skills. It's all packaged into this. So this is my three things that I will share to everyone. Try and find ways to learn all this up, and I think you really be a better colleague to someone at one point.
Yeah, I really like that. And I like what you say about this generation thing. It's very true. I have somebody who is 4 years or 5 years younger than me. Also, I feel like it's a different planet altogether. Like, so yours is sauce. I got what's the tea? And I'm like, what tea? Black tea, white tea, green tea? And apparently it just meant what's the thing, like the gossip, like the news. And I'm like, why can't you just say tea? Why must it be a tea? So, I learned different things as well. But that being said, right, one thing about generation to share, right, is the younger generations are a lot more expressive if you allow them to express. They really have a lot to say in opinions, in thoughts, in personal well-being as well. So it's actually a lot more easier to understand what they are going through and understand their problems than to ask somebody of the older generation. Like, like if I ask my mom, right, Ma, why are you so stressed today? Nothing lah, work. That's my mother's answer. Nothing, work, full stop. So don't disturb her. But if you ask somebody younger, why are you so stressed with work today? Oh, they can tell you A to Z or what is stressing them out today. So it's completely different. So for me, I always find it easier to probe from the younger ones and give them solutions. And for the older generation, it's a lot more being a listening ear. So with that being said, I think it's all about managing people. So if we don't judge, if all of you are dealing with different colleagues, right? Simple things, don't judge. Even if somebody got, a COVID or whatever not, right? Don't judge. There's at one point a lot of stigma about this COVID thing that went on. Don't judge. If you judge less, you stress less. You stress less, you get happier. But I'm all about stress reliever. Okay, I don't like stress. So stress less, judge less. That's the fundamental thing. All right, so what we're going to do now is that we're going to open the questions up. I'm going to be sharing the screen with all the questions that we have so far. We try to answer as much as we can. But in the meantime, if any of you have any other questions, feel free to, share it out and then we can address it as well. So if you want to type in the chat because it's faster, by all means, I can read it as well. Okay. Now, these are all the questions that we asked. I might not answer all of it. Reason being because I think some of it has already been covered. For example, I think Masami touched a lot about how do I give to others when I don't have much myself. I think she shared a lot about, just doing one thing, small thing at a time, and then eventually sikit-sikit lama jadi bukit lah. So a lot of things will eventually become something just by doing small things at a time. I think this is something that I want to address, the first one. So many disasters. Sometimes I feel helpless. I don't know what to do to give back, but I want to. What word of advice do you have? I think I want Kim to address this because I think during when the Malaysia, we were hit with the flood quite badly just last year and I think a lot of us were mobilizing different means. So maybe Kim, you can share a bit about what did you do and what are some advice you have for this?
Yeah, sure. I think when the disaster happened, my co-founder just asked me, just say, it seems like it's really bad. What can we do? I didn't know what can I do as well. But I went to one of my friend who has been working with, she runs an NGO and she's been working with a lot of the beneficiaries. I just asked only, what do you need help? And she just said, do you have money for 30 packs of groceries? I just told her 30 packs of groceries, probably like 50 ringgit per packs. And I just told her I don't have money, but you give me 2 days, I'll work something out. And so I just went on social media and just posted up, this area need this kind of help. We need 30 packs of this. Could we do it? Bank into my bank account. I'll do all the reporting on my own social media. And the money just came in and I just bought the groceries and sent it to them. And like you say, you do one small thing every single day, it just somehow grew because after that, people start asking, oh, we do need this kind of help. Can you help me? And then people started, when you start reporting what you do, and then you give people confidence, and then people will put in more money as well. I just have an Indian donated 888 and 88 cents, which I don't know why. Yeah, but what he says is, I see you doing this. I really want to be part of this, and so you just somehow become a platform for other people, and I think you don't have to think too much as to where you want to put your help with. Don't have to. You see something, someone asks you a question, you just attend to it first. If it's too big, just say, can I break it down? I can do this much. Is it okay? You don't have, let's say someone asks you, I need 10,000 ringgit. You're like, oh my god, I can't do this. How can I do this? Just break it down. Just tell me, I'm going to post up something. 500 ringgit, does that work first? If I have more, I'll let you know. You have to manage people's expectations as well, because people are fighting for their lives at the other end. So you need to, it needs a lot of communication. You need to communicate by managing those expectations, because if you don't, people will either expect more from you, or people will just leave you out, because everyone is going to say, I can help, I can help, I can help. I tell you, 10 people say I can help, usually 2% appear only. That is a very normal scenario, right? So that's the mindset of the other person at the other end who is helping the beneficiaries. That's what they think. So they don't expect from you anything, right? So they either don't expect from you anything, or they expect a lot from you. right? So you have to communicate your expectations, what can you commit to properly. And when you say you can commit to that thing, you make sure you fulfill it. Because there's so many people who say I can do this and they never fulfill. And what happens is that because you told me you can bring in 500 ringgit and I promised this beneficiary already that maybe 500 ringgit is coming, and then it doesn't happen, and then you put the person into more trouble. So it feels like might as well you don't help than you help to begin with. So that's very important. If you promise to fulfill, you fulfill. If you can't, you don't do. So I would give that to everyone who wants to help. First, you just identify the first help that comes to you. If it's too big, break it down. If it's something you can fulfill, make sure you fulfill. Just this is three.
Yeah.
And things are very easy. Don't think too much.
I really agree with that. If you can't commit, don't do it. That's, I think, my philosophy. Like, if you can't commit it, don't over-promise, under-deliver. I think that applies to work as well as in helping, as well as in caring, as well as in giving, anything for that matter. I think my personal example for this is that during the flood time, what I did was, besides donation, okay, donating money aside, I was not say don't allow, but I wasn't encouraged due to I have elderly with my care to go and help on ground due to COVID and things like that. So what I did was literally, I only had my phone and all I did was just call. So when I see Kim posted this, reshare a post. That's all I did. Share her post on Instagram. When somebody said, okay, this family is still stuck at this house at this place, what can we do? All I did was call my friend who was the police and say, hey, the police haven't reached there yet. This one need help. Call my friend who is in Putrajaya and say, hey, can any boats go out to this? All I did was just calling and calling and calling. When someone said they needed hot water, I myself am not allowed to go. My family was so upset if I wanted to go because my grandparents were staying with me and they're not well. And I was like, okay, since I can't physically bring hot water to them, who can I mobilize to bring hot water? Where can I get kettles? You know, things like that. So you just have to practice your critical thinking and just pick up your phone and ask. Because if you don't ask, you don't know whether somebody can help you or not. And that's usually the most.
Yeah, but before you ask, you have to build your network.
Yes, going back to
Okay, it goes back,
network first.
yeah. And going back to what building network is like what Masami say, you have to give to your network first. You cannot just want to take from your network. You have to give. And then you'll probably be asking, what can I give? There's a lot of things you can give. You can give by giving value, by writing something on social media. You can give by helping someone to do something sometimes, or sharing a book title, sharing a movie title. You can do a lot of value giving. That's how you build your network, and then only you take from someone one day.
Yeah. Okay, so if we talk about the cycle of giving, this is exactly it. Okay, give first, like what Masami said. We plant the soil, we give first, and then after that we build good network. After we build good network, leverage on this network, and then help. So that's generally your cycle, and it repeats itself again. All right, there's one very interesting question here. Is I think the same with the staff face the issue of the MCO and Banjir, how can I support? I think the same concept of here applies to here. You can just start by asking your colleagues, your fellow colleagues, hey, this person need help. Even if you collect 10 ringgit from a person, it's more than enough sometimes. You just have to ask more, that's all. Okay, and I think this has been answered. So coming to this, is this culture of giving related to one personality? Could it be trait? And how? I think it's a very interesting question. Masami, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So culture is interesting because it's different from just like mission, or idea in the organization. So when we started to think about the culture, just as an example, in my organization, this whole exercise involved actually the team. So rather than me saying, this is the culture, you have to follow these words or keywords or something. So what happened was we did this exercise with the team at that time and said, let's think about all of the qualities that we want to have in this organization. And let's think about all of the qualities that we need to have for us to achieve this mission, thrive. And so we had lots of words on the whiteboard, so many of them. And then after that, what we did was to ask ourselves another question, which is, okay, these are all nice things. We would love to have all of them, but which ones are those we must have all of us together and to continue to thrive for. And then we grouped the similar words together. We eliminated some of them that are nice to have, but not so necessary for everyone to have, because some people are good at certain things and some are extroverted, some are introverted, creative, not so creative. So we got all kind of people. So we're not expecting everybody to express all of their values. So we did that, and then we consolidated the list. And then finally, we came to this set of words, and we had 6 of them. So let me just share as an example. So we had D for desire to improve, O for open-mindedness, C for courage, A for accountability, and R for respect, and E for enjoyment. And then with this placement, we realized that this create this acronym called Do Care, Do Care. And this was very, very ideal for us because in our initiative of, the mission of creating a world full of giving by mobilizing businesses around the world to, create these social impacts, we realized that we have to be able to do both of doing and caring together. It's not just about being busy and doing lots of things, but it's about understanding why we do those things and being very intentional about those things and put our heart and soul into that action with a genuine way. And then not just wishing and hoping, but taking the meaningful actions and making things happen. So Do Care became something that's so easy for us all to remember. So every single day, actually, when we come together in the morning, we have one of the team members to do a sharing in the group. And then that sharing might relate to one of the Do Care values. Or when we have a quarterly conversation, like personal performance review conversations, we talk about not just the outcome of the work, but to talk about the Do Care. Which one do you think we did, personally very well this quarter? Which one do you think we can do more of? Or how can we improve this? Because even if we have clear values, and then we think we are doing reasonably well, there are times that we need to exercise one of those things so much more. Or we need to learn to do those things, without saying like, oh, we've done all. So culture is a continuous evolution. But when we have this like shared thing that you create together, so it's not like management to say this is what you have to do, but this is something we all contributed to create together. And then from then on, whenever we welcome new team members, in the job hiring process, we actually actively share this, because if somebody said, oh, I don't resonate with this Do Care, then yeah, of course, it's not the best thing to do to work together, because this is something that we all have to own. So that, in a sense, like a creation of culture can be very intentional, but then it should have at some point this like teams, collective buy-in, but to also the ownership that they feel this is what they stand for. So when we are not doing well, we are open to be challenged. We are open to reflect, open to work toward and help others in this organization to achieve together. So that's kind of, one example of what we do.
Thanks, Masami. I think that Do Care is a very good, and I think it's a simple exercise that you can do with your team as well to create. Don't company-wide, just with a team of 5, 6 of you, your friends, your family. I think it's good enough to practice it. And I think just to touch on that really quickly, is that whether is it related to one personality, self-awareness or a sense of strong self-awareness, or people with strong self-awareness tend to have a more giving culture relatively to somebody who's a bit lower. And self-awareness comes from experiences. Okay, so whether it can be trained or not, yes, self-awareness can be trained. You can learn to reflect better, understand yourself better. But like all things in training, it has to be wanted. You gotta want to be self-aware. If a person, like say, if you don't like to learn coding, I teach you every coding language in the world, you will never be able to learn it. So you need to want to learn it, and then you can train it, and then you can get better. You can just get better at it. But somebody with strong self-awareness would definitely have a stronger culture of giving. Okay, now we don't have a lot of time for any more questions, so I'm going to wrap up already by asking all the panel to give a last final advice or remark you want to share in regards to, just keep it short, one sentence that to sum up this culture of giving. Okay, but while the panel think about it, I think there's just one question I want to touch really quickly. A place or list I can refer for things that need help. I think it's there are a lot of NGOs and social enterprises out there, really a lot. So I think if you want to check, you can always check almost any social media platform. Like there's any NGO listed or any platforms like Magic and Deck, whatever not. There are plenty, they're listed. But you can do your due diligence to check before or ask friends, because most of them we know by friends and records. So you can always ask around before you verify. Okay, so with that said, I will come to Kim. What's your final sentence?
I think I've said quite a lot of sentences that are quite memorable just now. But if I were to sum up everything, it would be if you want to take something, make sure you give back first, and giving back can be very easy. And at a point like just sharing your time, sharing what you have, sharing a shoulder to cry on. That's all. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Kim. So give before you ask, not take, ask. All right, Masami, what about you?
So my one phrase is that life or work is like a game. And the reason why I say this is because actually this is like a game, because we started to play this game sometime. We were born, we joined the company, and then we go through all of the ups and downs. And sometimes we succeed, sometimes we fail, sometimes we face challenges, sometimes we have the joyful moments. But one day there is an end to the game. And nobody will escape this end. But the thing is, when we understand this, it's like a game, actually, then we can be less attached to the things that's coming up. But at the same time, we also realize that the real aim and the purpose of playing this game is not to win. Winning is not the ultimate purpose of playing a game, but enjoyment is. We choose to come here to play the game together with the people we love and care for. And that is because we are here to enjoy this moment together. So if we remember this, that it's about enjoying and sharing, then no matter what comes up, we will sometimes forget, but remind ourselves and say, okay, this is like a game. Like we can pick up ourselves, help each other, and overcome these challenges. So that's kind of my one last thing.
It's a very fun game as well. Okay, before I wrap up with my last sentence, can I get everyone to type one sentence or one word that you got out of today? One word. I think one sentence may be a bit too hard. Maybe one word. Okay, so can everyone type down one word? Suhaiza started. She said, always be happy. John says, be grateful, which is great. What else? What is that one word, one sentence that you got out of this session? Then we can give a proper wrap up and close for amazing PM Care session is done. Suhaiza said care. Thank you very much, Suhaiza. What about the rest of you? Type down right now in the chat box. What is that one word or one sentence? Kindness, very sweet. Inspiring. Mindset. Appreciate. You can use the same word. Yeah, I know we're going to run out of vocabulary one day. Giving is gold. Do good. Courage. Nice. Come on, keep it coming. What else? Give first. The end of the race is different for everyone. Winning is not everything. Be happy in this. Oh, no, Halina memorized the entire statement. All right. Traffic support system. Sharing is caring. Come on, keep it going. Self-aware. Nice. I'm going to give you 30 seconds more for this. 30 seconds. Openness. Sweet. Blessed. Discipline. Consistent giving. I think you meant giving, not guising. Discipline beats hopeful. Yes, Romy, giving. All right. And with that, keep it going if you want to go. But with that, my final sentence for everyone is focus on daily progression, not some days perfection. Because there's no perfect way of giving, perfect way to help, perfect way to be a business, perfect way to be a parent, perfect way to be a friend. But you just focus on being better every single day, and it's a lot more better than trying to be for fun. Okay, and with that, thank you so much to Masami and Kim for their time. And thank you to all 200 plus of you for being such a great audience today. And we'll pass the time back to the MC of PM Care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow, amazing. That has been a very inspiring talk. I've heard a lot about giving back, and I myself feel a little bit more humble after listening to everyone's stories here. Definitely, you guys break my own perception that helping can be difficult. But I really love what Masami has mentioned. Like one of it that inspired me a lot was the Japanese quote of giving can be the easier way as well. And even Kim's insight as well, breaking down help into something smaller. And definitely, I think if you guys want to give back, giving back can be possible. There's many ways to do it. And thank you to these ladies for teaching us that today. So I think these ladies have very interesting and very unique initiatives as well. So perhaps maybe I can give some time to all three of them. Perhaps maybe I can give you this space to talk about a little bit about your initiatives that you have. Like for example, anything that maybe one of like our members here can also help out and also go through the channel to give help as well. So yeah, perhaps I can go with Mallory first.
Okay, so on my business side, I run a business in corporate training and culture. Not so much help needed there. I do need help on the Tulips movement side. So I'm also part of this NGO, not-for-profit, that works on empowering women and youth. So we do need members and volunteers. So if you're interested in more women and youth empowerment element, can come and reach out to me about that. Okay, Masami, what about you?
So B1G1 is a global giving initiative which works with businesses around the world and help them integrate impactful giving in what they do. So every time business happens, something good happens in the world. And we have hundreds of social impact project activities that are aligned with sustainable development goals. So it could be like every time a company has a great meeting, they plant a tree, or every time they complete a project, they provide X number of days of education to underprivileged children. Or so the giving is expressed in all kind of ways by businesses. So we are continuously looking out for great businesses that want to join this giving movement, and so as the social impact causes around the world too. So if you are interested, then please go to b1j1.com and find out more. And if you want to introduce like your company or your friends or your friends who is running great organizations, then please do reach out. And I'm there on, also you can find me on LinkedIn and then connect with me as well. So what about you, Kim?
Yeah, I'm actually running a new social enterprise called The Other School, and definitely need like volunteers at the other builders, where we name our volunteers builders, like building the school. What you would be expected to do very much on online work, involving from content writing to video editing, or brainstorming on certain things, designing if you are a designer, to things that we need basically online admin work. So it probably requires you like 3 to 5 hours a week, that's all. And it ranges like in 3 months time, unless you want to further the extension as well. So if you want to know more, just add me on LinkedIn, Lim Yue Kim, YUETKIM, and then you can find details there. Usually I would post every single day.
Right, the links are in the chat box, but don't worry, we will have a post-event communication email to everyone who are participating in the event so that you know where to catch them, you know the channels or where to give out help, or if your corporate is interested in giving back to society as well, do reach out to these initiatives as well, especially things like B1G1, Picha Eats, and the Tulips movement. So yeah, I think with that, I think we can call it an end to this social well-being forum. Thank you so much to all three of you for giving us such amazing insights on the forum, and we hope each and every one of you here have a lovely day. Have some reaction. This is our last session, and I would like to give my last thanks to all the audience here for pulling through 3 days of our webinar as well. It's been amazing to see feedbacks being